Hi guys, welcome back. I'm Jess, and welcome to another season of Behind the Yellow Curtain. This season, I am going to have multiple conversations with some of my closest friends, and who also shared similar experience with me, who travel all the way to Japan. From their root cultures, probably from the other side of the globe, or they came back after exploring themselves elsewhere, and all of them also share this common quality of surviving, growing, and barely, most importantly, in my opinion, thriving in culture that sometimes or often very challenging to a lot of us. And we're gonna go from talking about their life stories, how they get there, how they get back, to something a little bit deeper and dive right into it. So, without further ado, let's get it started. This episode, the guest we have is someone who's very, very special to me, if not the most special over here in Japan. And they really provide a lot of sense of home during overall, like in my own journey within Japan, building my life. Their experience and background also is very inspiring to me personally. And then I find it super relatable and will be relatable to a lot of you as well. Without further ado, hello, bestie.
Hi, hello, bestie.
Hi,
Thank
how
you
are
for
you?
having me. I'm
Thanks
good.
for being here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, I mean, long time, right? We basically see each other every single
We
day.
do this every fucking day.
Yeah. Okay, so before you started talking about your life story, which is super interesting. I love it every single time. Like you've mentioned it 50 times.
Yeah, you're going to make a movie about me?
Yes, eventually. Can I ask you this?
Yes.
Where are you from?
I am from Colombia. I'm South American. Very proud, by the way. I'm very proud of my roots, although they are very different from the culture here. But so far has been a very interesting combination. And I've been living here for 2 years almost. And yeah, just discovering Japan and discovering what it's like to be a Colombian in Japan.
Yeah. Love your culture. I'm very like I know so much.
Yes. What are you talking about?
So much. Okay, can you share with me again how it started? Because this is not your first time moving to another foreign country other than your own.
No, I lived in the UK almost 10 years ago when I was doing my master's. I lived for less than 2 years, but it was my first experience outside of Colombia. I was very immature back then, so the experience was totally different. But it helped me to realize how capable I am on my own, because that moment you arrive to another country and you're all by yourself, like completely alone. It's so scary. It changed something inside of you, like it breaks something, and once you cross that limit, it's like I can do whatever I want by myself.
Can you elaborate? Like the first time, so before you go to the UK, and you're already an adult because you went for a master's degree.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I was already old.
You're so, ancient, aged.
Yes.
You're a very aged person already.
Yeah.
But that was your first time moving away from your hometown.
Yeah.
And also, correct me if I'm wrong, you also didn't grow up in the capital of Colombia.
Yeah. I come from Medellin, which is considered the second biggest city of Colombia, but it's not regarding size. It's actually a very small place. It's a valley, so it's surrounded by mountains, which affect the culture a lot because it's very small village kind of mindset. Everybody knows everybody. The reason why I wanted to travel is actually my older sister. She traveled very young. Yeah. And I wanted to be like her. Like I was inspired by her. And that's why I started to look for the opportunity. But I always had a plan since I was a little girl that I wanted to live in Japan because I grew up with Japanese animation, anime, and it was a very safe space for me because I was very lonely when I was a child, and I found that very safe place on, you know, the Japanese culture and the Japanese, you know, vibe that the anime was given to me. So since I was little, I decided that I wanted to move to Japan at some point. And studying abroad was like the first step, you know, to achieve that.
So you've been pretty strategic about your plan eventually landing in Japan. Like, you know for sure.
Yeah. That's what I need to do.
Where you will end up to be, basically.
Yeah, that was the plan. Yeah.
That was the plan the whole time.
I didn't try it the first time because moving here was something so impossible to me back then, and well, for all Colombians, I will say.
Yeah.
Even going to the UK at that time was like crazy, and so Japan was even, you know, crazier. So
yeah,
I think it was my first step trying something, you know, going outside.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So earlier you mentioned about how after you moved to the UK, you reached to a lot of types of limits. You kind of like started to get equipped under the very challenging circumstances. Yeah. Should we unpack that? Like, what kind of challenges you realize, or what kind of realizations that you learn when you first time arriving to another country?
Definitely not having anyone to go to. Yeah. Not having anyone to call, because the first time that I arrived to the UK, it was around 8 p.m. I lived in Wales, which is also a very kind of small, well, it's the capital. Cardiff. I was in Cardiff, but everything was closed. The place where I was going to stay was closed. Nobody was opening, and I was like, that moment I understood what it felt like to be abroad. Yeah, because I didn't have anyone to go to. Yeah, no one to call. I literally panicked. I was like, okay, now what do I do? And you have to solve it yourself. Yeah, yeah. So that limit, the first day, the first night, I experienced it, and that like unpacked the next of the experiences there. Yeah. Me learning how to solve things by my own, because I'm the younger of 3 sisters, and I think I've been, you know, not as maybe brave or independent as them. Yeah, I was like very lonely. The youngest child. I was very lonely, but I still like relied on my sisters a lot. Yeah, you have examples to look upon. And yeah, exactly. Yeah, but then I was completely by myself. So, wow, yeah, I resonate with that, because I was also like that. When I first moved to the States, I was by myself. I have an older sister, and didn't really get the true idea of what it means to be independent. Yeah. Not to mention independent in a country or a culture that you were not born in and familiar with. And earlier I asked about you not grow up in the capital or the biggest city, because that also have impact. Like if you are familiar or used to an environment that everyone knows everyone knows everything about everyone, all of a sudden you getting put into an environment that no one knows anyone, or no one knows about you, you know nothing about everybody around you. Yeah, that does a lot of things to your brain. Yeah, and also even within the capital of Colombia, there are people from everywhere. Yeah, within Colombia. Yeah. So there's different personalities, different things. Yeah. But where I come from, everybody's basically the same. The same. Not in a bad way. It's just the way it is. Yeah. We have the same kind of ways of expressing ourselves, way of thinking. So breaking that, even when you're abroad, you still have that, you know, in your head. Yeah. And I experienced that living in the UK. I still experience that living here. Yeah. I feel the pressure of the society back home. Yeah. Is there present. Yeah. And I think it comes from that background of a city that is very close-minded, very small. Yeah. On top of language barrier. Of course. Of course. Let's not forget about that. Yes. Like now I think we see English. Well, I see English as my first language, not my mother tongue, but of course didn't start there. Yeah. Like, it's not my I wouldn't call it my first language. definitely Spanish will be always the place where I feel more comfortable. But I'm starting to finally, from a long time ago, because I can now say that I'm the same person that I am when I'm talking Spanish, when I'm talking English.
Yeah, that's when you realize, okay, you're fluent enough.
I couldn't say that before.
Yeah.
I was totally different.
I am in
definitely
Japanese there's
right
like
now.
A personality change.
Yes.
When you're still getting used to
this is
speaking 100%
in one
language.
Me now.
Yeah. I'm glad I see the 100% you.
Yes. Maybe in Spanish there's worse. more mess.
Okay.
But yeah.
I'm glad I see the most 100% you.
Yes.
That's good news to me.
You're not missing anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So after that, you went back to Colombia, right? After you completed grad school. Have you ever thought of staying in the UK?
Yes, I did wanted to stay to work there. Because obviously pounds are better.
Oh, so it's more like financial reason.
Yeah.
Than
it wasn't
anything.
because I was like the UK, I want to stay because of the culture, the people.
Yeah.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Like actually it was very hard to live there because it sounds silly, but it's so gray all the time. And me coming from Colombia, I need sunny, I need sun.
Yeah.
And it was very hard to me to get used to that. But money wise, I really wanted to work there to keep my plan, and the long term was moving here.
Yeah.
I wasn't experienced enough for them to give me a sponsorship. So I went back, and I think it was good that I went back because I had many things to resolve in Colombia and learn before being able to move here.
Like what? What do you think you had to learn before you moved to Japan?
I think I had to give a new meaning to the way I socialize with people. I went through a journey of changing my relationship with alcohol. My city as well. Like I think because it's so small, everybody goes around and everything goes around social life. Like your friends, your group of friends, the events you go to, the parties you go to.
Yeah.
And the center of those relationships is alcohol. 99% of the times, even within your family circle.
It's part of the culture.
Yeah. Within the family circle, everybody drinks. Like it's part of it.
Yeah.
So even before moving here, I decided to change my relationship with it and I stopped drinking. So I think going through that process, being there, which was very difficult because of what I said, that me stopping drinking changed the way my social life changed. And it was a big deal, because social life there is everything. It was the beginning of me learning how to meet people and socialize without alcohol here, which was very uncomfortable. Yeah. But starting that process in Colombia was vital to feel that I'm capable to do it somewhere else. Yeah. So,
this time you talk about it, one thing I realize is it's actually you might did it in a subconscious way. But it's actually a really good thing that you start to change some kind of, like, some of your root behavior, manner, or like habit. Yeah. When you're still in a place that you're familiar with. Yes. And then you take that new-ish.
Because it's definitely harder there. Like here, nobody knows me, so yeah. I guess the flow of things can be more natural. Yeah. Even though inside I was like dying because I didn't know how to do it. Not at all. So it was such an uncomfortable moment, but nobody knew who I was when I used to drink. Yeah. Like I had to, kind of introduce myself again to everybody back home. Yeah. Like this is the real me. This is the me without drinking. Yeah. And everybody was like, oh, because it was obviously very different. But here I didn't feel that. Everybody just knew the person that doesn't drink that much. Yeah, because
that's where we met.
Exactly.
Like the moment I met you, you're already in a decent part of your process like of 6 months trying to rebuild that relationship within yourself.
Yeah, that was the first topic of the conversation because
it was straight up.
Yeah, I was struggling with it. So I was like, I'm going just to put it in front. Yeah. That made me feel comfortable that you knew that if I'm being weird or whatever, it's because I'm literally learning at 30 7 years old to know someone. Like,
Thanks for announcing your age, like on my podcast.
No, it is what it is. Relearning that at this age is not easy. So
definitely not.
It was such a good time in me doing that and moving to Japan at the same time.
No,
it was
like
the best.
All the jokes aside, I do respect that so much. Also, aren't you glad that you met me that night? That I was the one that you told. Sorry.
Yes.
Can't really.
Yeah. Thank you, God.
Yeah, no, but I remember vividly that night, like when you told me, and then I was like so impressed. Not in a way of, it has less about, oh, you stay sober, so like but more about how. And I told you this, I think our second dinner, hanging out after we met, is, to me, it takes a certain level of courage and then bravery to really wanting to reinvent yourself or like evolve from your old self, especially when you're getting like older and wiser, right? And that sometimes wisdom becomes the obstacle of us continue to evolve within ourselves.
And I didn't know, I know it now, and living here also helped me because it's so different from where I come from.
Yeah.
I know now that comes from a cultural place as well, because before I was solely blaming myself, like you drink too much, like there's something was wrong with you.
Yeah.
Why do you care about it so much?
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing, of course, that's how I grew up. Like my parents used to have endless parties with me being this size. Yeah. Just there, like watching them drinking. So
it's such a natural thing. Yeah.
All my friends do the same.
Yeah.
So now I'm like finally letting go of that guilt and understanding, okay, so I'm just changing my whole cultural background. Well, not changing it because it would always be there, and I'm super grateful and very proud of it.
Yeah.
Also gave me a lot of fun, good moments. I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
But kind of changing the meaning. Like, what does it mean for me?
Yeah.
It's not like I'm not tied to it anymore.
Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? Because I feel like listening to your story and then a lot of other sharing about how they come to realizations about a lot of things about themselves, cultural speaking, because culture really is the thing that drives us to trying to help us understand ourselves. But it's very interesting to see how a simple move, it's not simple, it's never simple, it's very difficult.
No, I know what you mean.
One move from culture to culture gives you the space that you didn't know you need to really review and unlearn a lot of things, and then to reshape who you are as a person, as an identity, as you know.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Japan is also very alcoholic. You know, there's a major like drinking culture here, which I was also a little bit like, okay, how is that going to work with this new me? Yeah, but I haven't felt at all what I used to feel back home. Yeah, in those type of environments. So even so, like Japan has their own dynamics, which is very present with drinking. Yeah, it's totally different from Colombia. So it's just so interesting to experience those two things. Yeah, and helps you to know that there's other ways, you know. Yeah,
it's like the culture shock within the similarity also helps you find that. Yeah, there's just like different perspectives. Yes, is the way. Yes, the directions you're viewing things also matters. Yeah. So going back to when you decide to move here, because that's like a good couple years after you move back to Colombia from UK, and then you're ready to go. You're ready to move to Japan.
Yes. I visited Japan first in 2019, which was previous to COVID. And I do find differences, but I encountered everything that I imagined. I saw, you know, the lifestyle that I used to see in the shows. Of course, nothing is the same. Of course, there are things that people find problematic, but that's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel sometimes people are a little bit too harsh on Japan, and it starts to be unfair.
Or any culture, they're not familiar
like, oh,
with.
Japan is not what you think. Like,
Yeah.
Any place is not what you think if you put it in that way. But when I came for holidays, I liked what I saw, especially like visually. It's such a delight as a designer to just walk on the streets. Like every corner looks like perfectly designed. So that's when I decided to push harder into make the contacts or do the work enough to be able to be hired here, because I know without a sponsorship it wasn't going to happen. So
Yeah.
that's when I decided I'm going to go to Japan. And I already had my dog, and that was also very interesting because it's definitely quite a decision for you. But when you have, your dog, it's like
a fur baby in the equation.
It means another layer of for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So let's be a little bit more real about the whole experience, meaning that I think because of, I want to say, thanks to social media, also because of social media, people kind of intake a lot of experience of living in abroad, specifically living in Japan, as this glamorous it's pretty polarizing. Like, one is very glamorous experience, right? I absolutely love Japan, never gonna leave here, and then I will live here for the rest of my life. The other side is like, don't go there, had a couple years of experience here, everything sucks, is not what you imagine. Very polarizing. Like, so far I really haven't seen a lot of contents out there that talks about, oh, wait a minute, like, there's always
the two sides
of one coin.
Yeah. That's what I was mentioning before. I find it kind of, and I don't know if I'm biased because Japan meant such a companionship when I was growing up that I have a special place in my heart for Japan. But I find it so annoying when people are so polarized about it. Because it's not that Japan is bad in either like way, it's just different. But people think that because it makes them feel uncomfortable means that it's bad. It's just different. So it's like, if you move to another place, you need to be prepared to be uncomfortable and experience difference. So this whole content that many people take advantage, and I think is clickbait as well. Like, Japan is not what you think, or 10 things you don't know about Japan. Like, what is that? Like, why Japan? Why you don't do that with other many countries that are supposed to be, the dream, the American dream, for example. Come on,
I
like,
can
what
speak
is
for that?
what is that? So why everybody's so harsh on Japan? Like, why? But it's your delusion, like, be responsible of your own expectations. And don't blame the country, just deal with it. You know?
So I know we talked about this many times. I also talked about this with my other friends who are visiting, who does bring their rose lenses with them when they visiting. Everything is so like rainbow and sunshine, and then everything's so clean, everything's so safe, and then they start to compare their experience in Japan versus their experience back home. And then most of them, they live in the big cities in the States, right? It's very messy, it's very grungy, it's very like unfiltered, uncurated in comparison in their eyes. But oftentimes when we have this conversation, I did try my best to kind of bring my own perspectives into the conversation, saying that, hey, look, yes, everything you see about Japan is true. It is very clean, it is very safe. You can save a seat in a coffee shop with your phone, and no one's gonna take it. If anything, they're gonna charge it for you. It's it's very like utopian.
It's crazy
experience to have. However, think about what that is, though. Like, think about why it is a thing, right? Why is there no people constantly trying to rob your phones, or why is there people constantly
trying to kill you,
trying to like throw you slurs that makes you uncomfortable. There's a reason for it. And I wouldn't say it as like a sacrifice or anything. It just, there's always two sides of one coin, right? So if you go into any culture, it's not just Japan specifically. If you go to any culture, there's the good things about it because there's always the bad things that comes along. Vice versa.
It's vice versa.
Vice versa.
Yeah, I was going to say, because right now many foreigners are going to Colombia, and they find in Colombia this paradise where everybody's so nice, so friendly, it's so fun, but you have the problem of insecurity, this and that. So, you know, it's like pick your side.
Exactly.
You're not going to find a place that is absolutely perfect.
Exactly.
And to me, like coming from a place where you are literally on defensive state every single day because a guy can kill you, you know, that happens. Like it's something so real that you have on your face.
Yeah.
Living here where I can just not think about it.
Yeah.
Like all of those little things are different that may make me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's such a small price to pay.
Yeah.
Compared to my from where I come from. So
and also I feel like a lot of time whoever is making comments that's like super polarizing, they're on the privileged side of the society in different ways. Usually. Yeah. Because you do have the privilege and then the mental bandwidth to nitpick a culture that is not your own, right? So that's also one thing that I know I caught myself doing when I just moved here. And then I think I do want to hear your experience in that regard as well. Like one thing that I had to unlearn when I moved here is the privilege of free speech. Not saying that over here you can say whatever you want, but it's more so what comes after. Yes. I was very used to, you know, like back in New York, it was a social battlefield, but that very thing on its own is a privilege. Yeah. You have the privilege of expressing your political stand, expecting other people to hear you or to receive and do something about it. That itself is a privilege. Not saying that every time you speak, that's the case, but you do have that expectation built in you being like, whatever you say, whatever you walk into a room and you say something, people will hear it. Potentially people will do something about it. You can do something with that person, right? And over here, not the case.
The lack of opinions here, it's something that I've struggled with because Colombians are very opinionated, usually strong characters, and we have the fame of being angry all the time by the way we express ourselves because we're like, this is what I think. So I've been, sometimes clashing with people here not being like that at all, being very quiet, like not expressing those opinions. So sometimes I'm wondering like, okay, should I?
They get intimidated.
At the beginning I was like, should I tone it down a little bit? And now I'm like, I'm Colombian. Like this is where I am. Of course I want to respect this culture, and so I don't just go into a room saying fuck all of you, but I'm finding that balance because I don't want to change my background. I don't want to forget who I am. I think that adds to my work, for example, a lot. So I've realized some people don't really like that, of course. But I think at some point they can learn from that, and I can also learn from them.
I relate to that. I think, again, case by case, right? The people's preference, how they want to be, how they want to shape themselves, their business. But I also resonate with, I have experienced code switching all the time, and then I kind of lose myself a little when I'm busy code switch, because I thought that was the only way to kind of respect their cultures or whatever that means. But then I realized that's not the only way. And then so moving to Japan, I was also like, okay, I need to be more intentional about who I am as a person, what culture I want to represent. Also, how can I carry it respectfully into a room that has another culture that belong to this country, and how can I not being ignorant or try my best not to be ignorant and then still be a student to that culture.
Yes. I love that like term of being a student, because when you migrate to another country, you never stop being a student, and you need to have that humble mindset of you being a student, not you forcing your culture into.
Exactly.
Because again, it's not right or wrong. It's just different. Like
It's different.
people need to understand that.
Yeah.
It's just different.
And just because
Period.
it makes you uncomfortable, just because it's not the
Yeah.
way you used to do things, doesn't mean it's the wrong
Yeah, exactly.
approach.
But still, I wanted to say that I'm also aware that me being seen as a white woman changes my experience, makes it easier.
Yeah.
Which is also new for me, because in other places like the United States or Europe, I'm Colombian, and that is like a black cloud that I have on top of me. But here, that cloud is not existent. I'm just a white woman, and people treat me differently, and that has made my experience probably easier than other people. I'm totally aware of that. But still, I'm try to be aware of it and not take advantage of it, to just say, oh, I'm just a foreigner, so I can get away with being rude on the train, or I'm just giving like easy examples, but like I try not to, in meetings, for example, where I'm trying to speak Japanese and other people start
still
to
make the efforts to meet in the middle,
exactly, and other members say, I'm sorry, I cannot speak English very well. I always tell them, I'm the one that needs to apologize. We are in Japan, so I don't like that, dynamic.
Yeah, by default, no one should by default knows how to speak English.
I'm no one. I'm meaningless. Like, don't apologize to me. Like, I moved here, so I need to make the effort to meet your, language.
Exactly. And so, recently I do love using this phrase, meeting in the middle. Like, I think that's actually a very, in my opinion, healthy mindset to have for anyone to meet in the middle. I think there's a reason why we flew all the way to Japan, right, for our career, and then people hire us. There's a credit for more. Okay, so that was our episode, and if you like it, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with anyone that you feel will resonate with this content. And we have new episode every week, so stay tuned, and I'll see you next time.